Okay, I'm going to show you now how to sketch out the plot of a story. So the first thing that you need to do is you need to draw out your plot diagram. So take a second to pause the video to do this. You need to draw your line, which represents your plot. We've got the beginning of the story and the end of the story. And you need to label on it the different parts of the plot. So we've got the exposition at the start of the story, which is where the setting and the characters are introduced. We've got the rising action, which is where the main character faces a series of conflicts or problems. We've got the climax, which is the main part of the story, where we learn the outcome. We've got the falling action, which are the events that lead to the end of the story. And then we've got the resolution. And remember, a really good story, the main character will always have learned something, or they'll have changed in some significant way. So take a second now, pause the video if you need to draw out your plot diagram. Once you have your plot diagram, we're then going to use this to sketch out the plot of our story. So I'm going to start with my exposition. In my exposition, I need to think about what my characters, how am I going to introduce them? What are they doing? So my story is going to be about my main character, who I'm going to call Zara. So she's my main character or my protagonist. It's going to be about her best friend, Alicia. And I'm going to include a third friend. I'm going to call her Mamuna, who's going to be a new friend. So let's say Zara and Alicia, let's say they've been friends since primary. But we also have a new friend, Mamuna. So this could be a point of conflict, couldn't it? Having a new friend. Okay, so I need the rising action now. I need some things that happen in the story that cause conflict. So let's say, to start off, Mamuna, the new friend, is not very nice to Zara. Let's say she says some mean things. Perhaps she's being a bit of a bully. And then let's say they all decide to go out together and they go shopping. But Mamuna, the new friend, tries to convince them to steal, let's say, some makeup. So we're getting the sense that perhaps this Mamuna, she's a bit of a bad influence. And maybe Zara doesn't want to. But she's peer pressured into it. So let's say Zara's quite a good girl, but Mamuna peer pressures her into it. And now we want to build up to the climax of the story. So the climax of my story is the most exciting part, where we learn the outcome. So as you might have guessed, the climax to my story, let's have it that they get caught. By the security guard. And of course, that would mean that the parents are called. Not a good experience. Okay, so what happens after that? Well, let's say even worse, Maimuna tries to blame Zara for the crime. Parents turn up and they're going to be very angry, aren't they? Their little girl's stolen something. And then let's say Alicia, who's been quite quiet up to this point, perhaps she realises that she was wrong to steal. So she sticks up for Zara. Tells the truth. That it was Maimuna's idea. So then that brings us to the end of the story. Well, what have Zara and Alicia learned? They realise that it's important to be honest. And also, Maimuna wasn't a very good friend, was she? That's not what friendship is. So there we have it. We've got our coming of age story. We've got a story where our main character, who's quite young, goes through an experience which changes them in some way, which helps them to mature. What you need to do now is to create your own plot diagram for your own coming of age story. Remember, it must include exposition, some events which cause the rising action, which builds to the climax, then leads to the falling action, events which happen afterwards, and the resolution should be where your character has changed or developed in some way. Good luck!